Hello and welcome everybody to All the Rage Sports. We're starting a day late today because we had a lovely, long meeting about the future of All the Rage Sports. So, starting a day late, we're going to start right during the Arizona Seahawks game, which actually just went into the second quarter with the Seahawks up 7-0 right now. DK Metcalf catching a lovely touchdown from Russell. So, with me as always, got my analyst Jace Junk, and I am your host Jesse Baden.
Hey, finally,
I didn't do a panel
analyst, and then there's no panel. It's just me, folks.
I did it this time. Don't
Thank
worry.
God,
good to go.
So
we're going to jump into it today. We're going to break down all your Week 10 matchups. We're going to touch a little bit about our Week 11 games. Kind of go through all those. Who was your pick for this Arizona Seahawks game? Mine was Arizona.
I was also going to take Arizona.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. After Arizona's just like miraculous win the other day against the Bills, I couldn't not go with Arizona on this one.
Rest in peace to, one of our former panelists, Andy. Did he send you that picture, that parlay he had? What was it for, like $1,000 or something like that?
It was bad, is all I know.
He had like college football games. Like he had a bunch of like pro games. Like there was a whole like props. He had everything, and all he needed was the Bills to win that game.
I have currently a 12-game parlay that I just threw $10 on just to see what would happen. If I win this 12-game parlay, I win $15,000 from $10. There is not a chance in my lifetime that it would happen. But
all I gotta ask: Raiders or Chiefs?
I don't think I bet on that one. To be honest with you, I don't believe I put anything on that one. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think I did. Because I think there was like 4 games or 3 or 4 games I skipped. Like Detroit and Carolina, I believe I skipped. I think the Chiefs and Raiders I skipped. I can't remember the other one. It may have been the Jets and Chargers that I skipped as well. No, I definitely picked that one. Yeah, I picked almost every game, but there was a few I skipped because I was like, I can't do every single game because I'm never going to pick everything like 15-0. So I need to pick like 11 to 12 of them. So I got a 12-game parlay going. So we'll see what happens on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to break down Week 10. We're going to talk about the Colts taking over the division, the Buccaneers stomping the Panthers. The Browns really pushing themselves into that playoff race. The Giants maybe forcing their way into the division title. Steelers staying undefeated. Obviously, the Bills and Cardinals game, which was amazing. Raiders staying in that playoff hunt. Beating the divisional rivals Broncos. Rams having the Seahawks numbers. Patriots upsetting the Ravens. Yeah. Vikings breaking their 0-9 record in prime time. So there's a lot of things to go down in this matchups. Also, we're going to have to touch on the Masters just a little bit.
I would love to talk about how I'm a religious man and I love God and I am a God-fearing man. But it does piss me off how I do feel like God just loved certain people more than others. And I don't think it's fair that you get to be able to hit a ball 330 yards off the tee, marry Wayne Gretzky's hot-ass daughter, and now you have a U.S. Open and a Masters in your fucking resume. And others, like he has had, and to his, I think he's one of a few people that has finished second or runner-up in every single major at some point in his career. So he would kind of had like a Rory-esque. We're talking about DJ, obviously.
Yep.
Nobody has. If you live under a rock and you don't know who I'm fucking discussing, I'm talking about Dustin Johnson. He had an abysmal record in majors leading up to this, and everybody was kind of hinging on that final round blow up, but he did pull it together And I mean,
did you see what the odds were prior to the start? Because I didn't see what his odds were.
he was up there. I know Bryson was the big favorite. That's something else we got to talk about. Fucking Bryson DeChambeau comes out. Now, Augusta is one of the hardest courses on earth. It is a par 72 if you're playing it front to back. He comes out and goes, well, if I'm playing as well as I can, par for me should be 67. And he made the cut line on the line at even par through the fucking weekend. Like he would like, I think the first day he was out, the third hole, he lost a fucking ball in the fairway or like just off the rough. Like he sucked all fucking week long. There was a bunch of storylines and like shit got like, did you see Tiger blow up on the 10th hole?
Yeah, he dropped a 10
on 12th actually.
Yeah, he had 3 water shots.
Yeah, he hit one in the water off the tee. He went to the drop zone, hit 2 in the water from there, and then finally hit one into the bunker, had like a weird lie in the bunker standing back there, and then absolutely thinned the piss out of a chip. You're going to know how heartwarming that was. I mean, it pained me to see, but to know that even Tiger Woods is capable of blading a sand wedge out of a sand bunker.
Yeah. Even the greats have these type of moments.
Albeit, like I said, at Augusta National, and if you saw his lie, he was like, his heels were up here and the ball was about a mile below his feet. So it was kind of understandable that it happened. And not to mention, that was hole 12, and I believe he birdied 4 of the last 5 coming in or something like that. Like anybody else, like your common ordinary golfer, me and you'd have been like, fuck this, we're done.
Yep, we're done.
Like
out.
Just fire, go back to the fucking clubhouse for a shot, give me more beer, and we'll just turn this into a complete shit show.
Yep. So, well, we're going to have all that and more coming for you on All the Rage Sports. All right, everybody. So let's just start off. Let's start digging into our Week 10 matchups here. Colts and Titans. That was a huge game. Colts actually, I think, have taken over the division at this point. Titans dropping 3 in a row. What is wrong with this Titans team right now?
Who can fucking pinpoint it? I've been a big fan of. Especially on this podcast, I've been an outspoken, defender of, the Titans and Mike Vrabel and this whole system and Ryan Tannehill and everything they have going on. This slide I really don't think anybody saw it coming. As a team that went to the AFC Championship last year, I feel like everybody kind of felt like they were another contender, like they were going to be right up there with, obviously the Steelers are kind of the favorites with the Chiefs right now, but everybody kind of thought they were going to be up there. But this is kind of like a wild card team, or if they keep sliding, things can get really ugly for them, and they might not even make the whole thing.
The amount of AFC teams right now that are 6-3 is absurd, and there's about 5 or 6 teams vying for those 3 wild card spots. So it's a little. This AFC is really going to come down to the line.
In the AFC alone, you have the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Browns, the Ravens, the Colts, and the Titans, so to speak, are all 6-3.
Yes, there's 6 teams right there. Now there's a few in the same division. You got the Browns and the Ravens, and you got the Titans and Colts. So obviously, one of those teams is going to be the division winner. I don't know about the Browns and Ravens. You probably say both those are wild card teams at this point. But the Titans and Colts, one of those is going to win the division. The other one's going to drop to the playoff run. So then you got the Dolphins who are trying to get in there. And who was the other team you said? The Raiders. The Raiders. Yeah, because the Chiefs are probably going to win that division.
Well, bias button me on this all you want.
It's fine.
Hey, if we win this week in Vegas against the Chiefs, we're in serious play to win the entire division.
You absolutely are.
If we go 1-1 against them, like we were talking about last night, on the many times we attempted to start and then we got sidetracked.
We sat here for about 45 minutes trying to start the show yesterday, but we just kept talking and getting off topic.
We got way out of control. It was bad. Yeah, this is a team that I feel like if there's one team that you can pick in the AFC that you can say that's a definite, if not a division winner, a playoff team, so a wild card team, I feel like it's the Raiders.
Yeah.
They've played well enough. They're going to be there. The problem is all these other teams like the Browns, the Ravens, they're good enough, but with everything in the math and just all with the extra wild card team this year, everything that's going to go into it as far as tiebreakers and stuff, there's going to be, even with an extra spot, as I just said, there's going to be a very, very good team that is going to be left.
Yeah.
They're going to be the proverbial joke, and I love to say it, but golfing in January, and it's going to happen.
It's going to be very interesting.
Let's just stop it. It's going to be the Browns. We all know it's going to be the Browns.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah,
just say
true.
It's
going to be the Browns, and it probably is going to be the Vikings that fall, or the Dolphins that fall out as well. So I think the Ravens are pretty much a staple in there. I think the Raiders will be a staple in there. And obviously, I think the Titans and Colts both make it. So there's your 3 wild card teams with your division winner. I think it's the Dolphins and the Browns that are going to not make it. Jace, move over to your right, by the way, because you're half off camera.
I was leaning over to grab a beer. So sorry, I slid off camera. But just ponder this for a second. How fucking so? I know we're off in fantasy land, but say the Raiders do somehow win the division. How terrified, Jesus Christ, that the Kansas City Chiefs in a wild card spot.
Whoever that second, third seed is going to be.
Yeah, that would be like they would essentially probably be playing.
They would probably be playing the 4th seed because they would probably be in there as the 5th.
The first seed in, so they'd be playing the 4th seed. So that would be like
the Titans or the Colts.
Yeah,
one of those two.
Like the Titans or the Colts. Holy shit, that could be really, really. I don't want to say like an easy path to the Super Bowl for them, but I feel like that might be. Subtract the first round bye, but that might almost work out for them in a better way.
The only thing is, you would have that, and then you'd probably be playing because the first seed's going to play the lowest seed. Unless every wild card team loses and you're the only one left, the Chiefs are the only one left. They wouldn't play the Steelers until the AFC Championship if the Steelers made it through that.
And the Chiefs are all riled up because I guess a bus driver was pissed off. The Raiders won, and they made him drive around the stadium one more time to rub some salt in it. And Andy Reid and everybody's all jacked off about it. So, wonderful.
So back to the Titans here. I think the big thing is we had such a strong performance from Tannehill early in the season, and he just hasn't been as efficient as he has been. I think teams are more, keying in on Derrick Henry because what else are you going to do against this offense? When you hear Ryan Tannehill, you're not afraid of that name. You hear Derrick Henry, you're afraid of that name. So that's what you're going to key on. Now, he's even this game, he produced very well. 5.4 yards a carry, 103 yards, but he didn't get in the end zone. And Tannehill was 15 for 27 for 147 yards. Passing offensively, they just don't have any. They've put first round draft picks into that wide receiving core, and they just really haven't produced well.
The problem is you've seen flashes of it this year. I mean, AJ Brown is a number 1 receiver.
Yes.
When he touches the ball, he has superstar potential. It's almost like this offense, like there's just. I don't know if it's time to just move on from a coordinator or just there's almost like a disconnect somewhere. And I feel Taylor Lewan is still out. Is he not?
I believe so, yes.
Your franchise left tackle, and they let Jack Conklin go to the Browns this year. So there's your left and right tackle essentially gone. So like you said, it's pretty easy for teams to go, okay, what's your biggest threat? If we take this away, take Derrick Henry.
Stack
away.
AJ Brown, stack the box, 1-on-1 everywhere else,
you've got Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, and Jonnu Smith hasn't even
Jonnu
been
Smith has proved to be good this year.
well, but the last couple of weeks he hasn't even been. He's been a blocking tight end, and fucking Anthony Ferkser, my man. I picked him up. I know I bragged about it. How many ever weeks ago? Picked him up on the waiver wire, and he got me like 28 points when I went on that rampage. He has honestly been their number one tight end for a couple of weeks. So,
the biggest thing is they are just not able to produce. Like the second half of that game, Tennessee didn't score a point. They were leading after the first half by 4, 17-13, and they didn't score a point in that second half. So is it woes on defense or is it lack of production on offense? And honestly, I can't pinpoint either. I think it's a little bit of both.
Well, I believe it's both, but I feel like that defense was a lot sharper last year. I feel like they were a lot more, I guess, on the same page. I mean, Kevin Byard's a very underrated safety. He's somebody that really doesn't get a lot of credit playing back there, and he's a guy that should be almost like a Levante David, where they should be perennial pro bowlers, and they don't get enough mention. But you can say, I do agree with you. It's a little bit of both sides. I don't know what it is. Coaches, coordinators, whatever the fuck it is, but it's almost like there's a fuse missing somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems to me that the Colts will, because of the veteran leadership at quarterback, with the coaching staff and Eckler, was he back in this game? I can't remember if he was or not. I don't believe he was, but let me see here. Yeah, so Eckler wasn't back in. Oh, I'm thinking Chargers. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm thinking Chargers, not Colts. Excuse me. It was Hines in this game.
That was the main. Why are we all of a sudden talking about this?
Yeah, sorry. No, I went to the wrong team. I was thinking Phillip Rivers' old team. No, it was Hines and Hines has been one of those running backs where he'll have 1 week where he produces amazing in like fantasy, and the next week he'll catch 3 balls and have 4 carries. Jonathan Taylor had been the main running back there, and Hines actually outcarried him in this game. So the Colts team is progressively got better as the Titans team has progressively got worse as the season's gone on. So let's see what happens. I think that the Colts are really putting themselves in a strong position to win that division at this point, especially with that win. That was a key win.
Good defense, veteran quarterback. You can't argue against it. But the one thing I will say is this is a Titans team where I feel like they could be very sneaky if they keep sliding down. And as we said, sneak in is like the last wild card or something like that. Don't forget, like, this is a team that
they've been in that position before.
Well, this is a team that it was about this time last year where they really weren't impressing anybody or blowing anybody out of the water. But then
didn't they just sneak in with like a 9-7 record or something at the end?
No, I mean, they were playing okay. I can't remember. Did they win the division last?
No, they didn't, because I think they beat out the Steelers for that wild card position.
They were a wild card. But they were 10-6, like they weren't bad. And then all of a sudden in the playoffs, it was like, holy shit. Here it comes. Like, the defense was absolutely spot on. Like, they were perfect. Tannehill was throwing darts everywhere, and Derrick Henry was a bull in a fucking china shop. Like, it was ugly. And that's what you got to worry about as a team like this, winning and losing, kind of being shitty, having a couple close ones here and there, and then they sneak in. They could all of a sudden just hit it, turn it on.
God. All right, well, let's move on here. We've talked way too much about the first game here, so let's move on. Bucs and Panthers, really the big thing was Ronald Jones had a 98-yard touchdown run in that game. That was awesome. The biggest thing we have to talk about in this one, honestly, and I hate fucking saying it, so we got to talk about Antonio Brown. Not about his performance on the field, but evidently that he, caused some a destruction, throwing chair at a security.
He destroyed. I don't know if he destroyed it, but he threw something at a security camera. He threw a bike at a security hut, like almost like a guard hut or something like that, like going into a gated community. And apparently the woman that is like the president of the homeowners association, this is how you know you're a terrifying motherfucker. This guy is living in Florida and he's got a Florida Karen that is like, I'm scared of this guy. I won't even press charges against him. Like, if you've got a Karen that won't call her lawyer up right this second for destruction of property, then you said probably some scary, like, off the wall shit. You maybe you did something like threw a bag of gummy dicks at her or something like that.
Yeah, who would do something like that?
Attack your moving driver, or I don't know.
Who would do something like that?
Totally strange. Now,
the
one thing I will say is I'm totally fucking glad that when I drafted Ronald Jones, I didn't bail out as soon as they signed Fournette the next day, because everybody and their brother was like, Fournette becomes the number one back. Here's the stats. Ronald Jones Jr. or Ronald Jones the second, 23 carries, 192, and then Leonard Fournette had 8 for 19.
Fournette is a joke. He always has been a joke. There's been like 2 seasons he was good in Jacksonville, and then he became injury prone, and then it's honestly all it did was motivate Ronald Jones to get his ass in gear, and that's all he's done.
Well, yeah, they did that running back by committee bullshit last year, and I think he was like, I've had enough of this.
Yeah, it was Peyton Barber and him last year.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that run, I was like, thank God I didn't trade him.
So yeah, the Bucks continue. They're such a hot and cold team; it's not even funny. There's a day they'll play like they've never played football before, and then the next week they'll drop 46 on this team. So I feel bad for this Panthers team. I wonder what this season would have looked like had you not had the injury to McCaffrey as long as it's been. May have not been a lost season, but this is definitely a lost season for them.
Yeah.
Mike Davis has definitely performed admirably in his absence. And to those fantasy owners that did grab that handcuff, that handcuff, that was immensely good for them.
Apologize to the disabled all around the world, Jesse.
Yes.
How dare
Sorry, not handicap, the handcuffed. So I mean, it's been great for them, but this is definitely a lost season for them. I feel pretty bad because they definitely could have came into this year vying for one of those wild card positions in that division. Tom Brady obviously coming over there probably didn't help them any, and because the Saints are pretty much the favorite to win that division each year. So yeah, it's I feel bad for the team, but there's always next year.
One of those things we kind of, and I'll be honest, I wasn't crazy about the Matt Rule hiring, but he's looked pretty good. This team has looked pretty decent. Even the games they've lost, they've pretty much been in them.
Well, I mean, didn't they lose a game because they went for 2 points at the end of the game because they wanted to win it and missed it, and then
I believe so. And fun fact, they lost one. Joey Sly, their kicker, he missed one from like 64.
That's what I'm thinking of. The 2-point conversion one was actually Ron Rivera with Washington. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and then
ex-Panthers coach.
Carolina lost because their kicker missed one. Which, fun fact, do you remember the little old lady that lived at the end of Quentin and Jacob's driveway in the blue house?
Yes.
Her grandson is the kicker for the Carolina Panthers. I shit you not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, she's still a sweet woman. She's still alive. I haven't seen her in years, but living out there, she was always great. But my mother told me that one day because I looked on Facebook and she's wearing my mother is wearing a Carolina Panthers shirt. My mother, who doesn't give a shit about football, like years of living with me and my father, like she could give a shit less. And I'm like, why are you wearing a Panthers shirt? And it's, your neighbor up the road just happens to have a grandson that's an NFL kicker.
It's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on here. The Browns and Texans game. This game was absolutely horrible if you were watching it on TV. The wind gusts were like 40 miles an hour. It was blowing the ball off the tee. No passes could barely be made throughout that entire game because the wind was taking it. It was basically stack the box and try to run against me. Nick Chubb did do that. So his return was definitely a good return. for any of those Browns fans out there. Baker Baker was 12 for 20. It was definitely a rushing game. Him, Chubb, and Kareem Hunt both had 19 carries. Hunt had 104 yards. Chubb had 126 with a touchdown. So, I mean, they were both averaging over 5 yards a carry. Chubb was actually almost 6.5, a little over six and a half.
And Chubb would have had one more, but he did the admirable thing and ran out at the one.
Him running out at the
I saw a lot
smartest
of people,
move I've ever seen.
I saw a lot of people though that had the Browns minus like 3.5, and I believe they were up a field. Yeah, they won by 3. Like guys had like the Browns 3.5, and they're like,
"Can you imagine?"
And then he runs out.
Yeah, can you imagine sitting there and watching him run in the open field and going, "Yes, I friggin' won! Yes, what?"
Like I said, putting tires on my car, I've been broke. So I'm like, there was a couple of really, really fucked up heartbreaks this weekend that I'm really glad I didn't bet on. Like, I'm almost glad. You always want to be in the mix. I would have been so pissed, but needed in my parlay. Like, oh, I need the Browns to cover the spread right here. That would have been an absolute heart ripper.
Yes. So yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, that game wasn't anything special to talk about. It was mainly dominated by the weather on that one, but good win for the Browns. Obviously,
I mean, living where we were, I mean, the fucking weather last Sunday was nasty.
I didn't have power at my office on Monday till 1 p.m.
I was about to ask, did you have power at your house?
I did. It kept going off and on, and I had it shut off and come back on at least 5 times that day. Watching the game, and then it would cut off and then come back on, and I'm like, oh, but it was like it stayed on for most of the Steeler game, so I didn't have to worry too much about that. It was mainly the 1 o'clocks I was losing power for.
Yeah. It was bizarre. Our internet was out, but there were like people 2 streets over in the Grove in our neighborhood that didn't have power.
Yeah.
And people
there were still people Wednesday.
I'm just going on Facebook, and people, it was great. People are like, what the fuck? I want to watch football and I don't have any power. And it's like their neighbors right over there. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, lights are on. And
I'm still
the only
good.
thing that was out was our internet wasn't working. The internet.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move up on that. We have the Lions and Washington football team. Lions won on a game-winning field goal by Prater, 59-yard field goal as time expired. The Lions are really trying to make a push. They have to win out at this point to even have a chance. So I don't see it happening. But they're showing some guts in these last few weeks.
Old man Matt Prater still, I mean, just going out there, talk about a just fucking lunch pail, fucking hard hat type of guy, showing up and doing the fucking job.
Yeah.
This is a Lions team sitting at 4-5, and realistically, with that extra playoff spot in both conferences, 9-7, I don't think gets you in this year.
No, I don't think so.
Even
in the NFC
where you're looking at, Jesus Christ, an NFC East where your qualifying playoff team is probably going to be under 500.
Yeah. And not only that, you look at the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Cardinals, all 6-3 right now. All 3 of those teams are making the playoffs at this point. So it's insane what the NFC can be. I think the Giants are going to just kind of vie for that mid-round pick next year. All right, so let's look at the next game, Packers and the Jaguars. Jaguars actually almost made a game of this. The Packers went up relatively early, if I'm not mistaken. In the second quarter, they scored 17. Then to Jacksonville's 10. And then Jacksonville actually came back for a little while, and Packers had to throw that late touchdown to really take over. But Keelan Cole was the main reason they were still in that game. He had, I believe it was a punt return and then a long touchdown reception. Let me see where I'm at here. It was like a 30, 40-yard touchdown or something like that.
Well, yeah, he had 5 catches for 47, but there was like a long bomb in there somewhere.
Yeah, it was one of his longer plays. It was over 30 yards or something, like was his one touchdown. And then he had that punt return for the touchdown as well. Or
And
kicker.
it
Punt
is
return.
worth noting, just a little bit off topic, but Devontae Adams is he didn't practice today. He's having a fucking little bit of an ankle injury, so
It wasn't a punt return. What was it?
it was a punt return.
But it says he didn't have a touchdown on his punt return. I thought he did.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It says punt returns right here.
It says touchdown 0 though on the stats. I swear he had
it literally says he returned 3 times for 113 yards, and one of them was a tutty.
Huh. Okay. I must be looking at the wrong thing here. But anyway, besides the point. But yeah, that was their main thing that day. It was basically him that kept him in the game. The only thing I really want to talk about in this Jaguars team is James Robinson. That man has been the biggest surprise out of this draft class. He's like he's probably the best non-quarterback player out of this draft.
Agreeable.
I mean, you could put Claypool up there-ish. You could put I'm trying to think of one at Judy. Not Judy. Who's the Vikings
CeeDee
one?
Lamb. Or no, Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson, that's it. Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb you could put up there pretty well for the wide receivers. And I think CeeDee Lamb would have a better shot at it had Dak not got injured. But with whatever janitor they have playing quarterback right now, he's probably not going to have the greatest chance at Rookie of the Year. Justin Herbert obviously leads the way with Joe Burrow right behind him. But yeah, I think James Robinson's the third on that list. And he was undrafted.
Yeah. Once again, another guy, that's what I wanted to bring up, that every year we talk about, we're going to draft this guy in the 4th round and this and that. It doesn't fucking matter, because you can have one dude get signed from bullshit fuck ass state, wherever the fuck they may be from.
North Dakota State Tech.
Or people, I have to clarify, because people might not be watching on YouTube. I don't mean that in like a satirical way at all. You just see these guys, and it's amazing. You see guys come from JUCO schools and community colleges, and just some of the weirdest off the wall places.
Yeah.
Have like really, really good NFL careers. And I don't know, forgive me, James Robinson is one of the few people I don't know where the fuck he went to college at. But once again, they were like, we lost Fournette. What are we going to do? And everybody's like pissing and moaning. They're obviously not having a good year, but it's like, what are we going to do at running back? And the one bright spot you have had has been your undrafted running back.
Right.
He could be from Tulane.
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the year, it was like, okay, he actually was Illinois State. So the beginning of the year, it was like, okay, we're going to release Leonard Fournette. And you're like, this Jags team is bailing on this season. Yeah, they have Gardner Minshew starting, and they have some nobody at running back. Some nobody undrafted rookie. This is going to be hilarious. And then he comes out, and he just starts pounding it right off the bat.
He went to Illinois State.
Yeah, Illinois State. So, I mean, he's the biggest bright spot of that team right now. Everybody loved, there was a few ex-panelists in here that really loved Gardner Minshew. And I've never been a huge fan of him. I thought he was decent.
Who's Gardner Minshew again?
Yeah, nobody knows at this point.
Okay, moving on.
Not been playing. So that Jags team is in a full-on rebuild right now. Which why they scare me next week for the Steelers.
They for some reason just always give you guys a hard game.
Now, in that defense, That wasn't a lot of him Fred Taylor days. And then Maurice Jones-Drew days.
I was going to say, no.
And then Leonard Fournette days. Oh, wait. No, it was always.
It wasn't Fred Taylor. I remembered a certain David Garrard game.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, but
they always give the Steelers trouble.
Actually, now that you mention that, I do remember like fucking the lefty Mark Brunell back in the fucking day. But they need to, you know what? Above all, let's just talk about one thing. The Jags need to bring back those fucking uniforms. Those were fire. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Those original helmets, just bring back that colorway and just be done with it.
Yep, that's it.
All right, move on.
All right, so the Giants and Eagles game. Eagles falter. They're still at first place, but only because of the tie, and playing one less game than the Giants right now. So the Giants are putting themselves in position to possibly win this division. They are 3-7 right now, and I believe they're only a game back. Or a game and a half, I think, because the Eagles have played one less game. So, yeah, I believe it's a game and a half right now that they are back on the Eagles. It is a sad day to be in that NFC East.
So it is.
Winning that division right now is the equivalent of getting a participation trophy.
It is like lining up 4 cows in a row, and the first one gets to walk into the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, like the winner,
like it's
really
just
isn't the winner.
You're watching it, and you're just behind him, and it's almost like you're sitting here with your handkerchief, like you poor fucking thing. You don't even know what you're doing. Did you know whoever they play that first game is it's going to be an absolute bloodbath. It's going to be so ugly. Some wild card team is going to come in and annihilate them.
It's going to be sad to watch.
Well, and how pissed are you going to be if you're the wild card team that beats them, and then you should have at least had home field for that one game because you know you're better than them.
Oh,
and then it's like, fuck, we got to play away from home literally until next year.
Yep.
Fucking Giants.
So moving on from that NFC East is just dismal. Doesn't matter who wins that division. They're a one and done team. So moving on, Steelers stay undefeated against the Bengals. As TJ Watt said, we gave Joe Burrow a proper welcome to the AFC North. Now, I'm going to just say one thing. I'm loving this season with the Steelers. It's obviously an amazing season. This will probably be like the last amazing season the Steelers have because we're really running out of time on Big Ben. And this division has literally 3 Heisman winning quarterbacks. So there's all these news articles that talk about, we're winning because Big Ben just goes up there and tells us what to do, and we just do it. He's literally just making up plays as we go. Mason Rudolph is not going to do that. Josh Dobbs is not going to do that. When you're running just from Randy Fichtner, you're not going to do that. So what's the difference between this year and last year? It's Big Ben and his improvisational skills and his playmaking ability. It's fantastic to see him come back from that surgery. I don't think we have more than maybe next year out of him. Maybe. If we win the Super Bowl this year, if they go to the Super Bowl and they win it, you might not see Ben again.
Oh, if you guys go to the Super Bowl and win it, goodbye. You're not. And that's because, and to Ben's credit, he's been the best quarterback of this era that hasn't been talked about because people constantly throw up Breeze, Brady, and I hate to say it, but even Eli Manning, just because of what he did to Brady those 2 times in the Super Bowl, I feel like Eli even gets brought up in those breaths before people go. And as much as I, don't like the Steelers, people don't, I feel like, give Ben enough respect in that sense as he doesn't get mentioned up with those guys. And he has 2 Super Bowl rings. And you're
The biggest thing
right.
with Ben is,
but if they go this year and they win the fucking damn thing, at that point, you have more than Eli, you've got more than Breeze, you've got more
than Peyton, more than this is,
Oh wait, no, he would tie Bradshaw, wouldn't he?
Bradshaw has 4. Ben would have been 4 Super Bowls, but only have 3 rings if we go and win this season.
I guess, yeah.
Because we lost to the Packers thanks to Rashard Mendenhall.
I guess I was short you one. I thought you were still on 6, but yeah.
We are 6.
Yeah, I mean at that point he has to be, that solidifies him as you can't put Ben in that greatest of all time category, but as far as one of those guys that was just fun to watch, that would just absolutely, like you said, go out, call the play on the fly, roll the dice, fuck it, this might happen, this might work.
It's nuts to me. Like literally, Claypool came on after a game interview and was like, Ben tells me what route to run, I run it, the ball's there. How much easier can you get? Like that was his quote. And that's what it is. When you get that spread offense, Ben's in the shotgun, and he's just running that hurry up, that no huddle, and just calling shit as he sees it. It's hard to stop that because it's not something, it's never the same every week. And that's why when you have a quarterback, like for instance, was it 2 years ago when the Raiders played the Niners and Nick Mullins made his first start ever, and you had no idea what Nick Mullins was going to do. And he comes out there and he lights you up. And then there was, just listen, I'm bringing up for both of us.
Examples.
You go back into the Dallas game a few weeks ago where this no-name quarterback comes out of nowhere and lights the Steelers up. When you don't have tape on something, when you don't have any way of just saying that this is what they're going to call, when he's just literally making the shit up, you can't defend it.
I didn't have to ever think about the Nick Mullins game ever again if you didn't bring it up to me. You know that.
All I'm asking you is, who did the Raiders draft instead of Calvin Johnson?
Who did Terrell Pryor walk by for 93 yards?
Hey, I was a huge fan of Terrell Pryor, and I loved that signing. I thought he should have been your quarterback.
I really wish we'd have gotten that on video and Denarius Moore boofed the fucking punt or the opening kickoff on the 7, and you were already screaming in my face, and then Terrell Pryor scampers off for a 93-yarder on the first play. Our quarterback did that. Our quarterback.
That was a very intense day at your house. Let me just say. But anyway, I think the Steelers have a very strong chance of finishing the season 14-2. I honestly would not even be a little bit surprised if we lost this week against the Jaguars. Would not even in the slightest bit be surprised about it.
You want to be really surprised? I think your basement right now is 14-2.
Yeah? You think that's our basement?
I think I see you guys losing 2 more games the whole way out. And probably being the decided number 1 seed in the AFC.
I can see it. Yeah, no, I think the next 3 weeks are really decided.
And water is wet. Let's just act shocked that you can see that happening.
All right, so let's move on with that. Bills and Cardinals game. This game pissed me off so fucking bad. I lost 2 parlays because of this damn game. DeAndre Hopkins catching a 1-against-4 jump ball Hail Mary with 2 seconds on the clock to win the game.
I admittedly, and I am ashamed of this, because I was so intently glued on the Masters all day. I was catching glimpses of games here and there, and then after, the problem is, in my household, we always have food of some sort. So as soon as the Masters was over at 3 o'clock or whatever, I immediately ran out. It was my day to cook food. So I'm in the kitchen whipping shit up and everything going on. I actually, unfortunately, missed the end of this game while everybody else was screaming from the fucking living room. But
I literally looked at my FanDuel.
As soon as the Bills went down and scored, I was like, "This shit's over." I was like, I had dishes to do. I walked out to the kitchen. I'm like, "All right, this one's in the books. I got to throw a Hail Mary. I can pretty much call it done." And then I'm, cleaning the shit up, and then all of a sudden I hear, "Oh my fucking God," and everybody's flipping out, and I'm like, "No way, no way." And then you see, if fucking Jordan doesn't make a commercial out of that, did you see the picture?
Oh my God, it's amazing.
All you see is him in a sea of hands, and there's a Jordan logo right here, and all it is him above everybody else with the ball.
Yeah.
Just print that in every magazine you know of right now, and you'll make a fuckload off of that.
Yep. No, I literally looked at my FanDuel, and I had just the Bills winning that game, and it was a $10 bet, won me like $25. I look at it, and I could cash out after the Bills scored that touchdown, and cash out for like $1 less. And I was like, no reason to even do that. Blah blah blah.
I yelled at you about this.
Yes.
That is the stupidest move you could have ever made in betting.
Yep.
You stand to lose $1, $24 versus $25.
Yeah.
That just proves how fucking greedy you are.
Yeah.
You cheap son of a bitch.
Yepper. Moving on. Raiders and Broncos. This was a very good divisional win for the Raiders. Kind of a statement win, really. I mean, 37-12. Huge win. Josh Jacobs, I believe, is second. I want to say second or third. I think third rusher in the league right now.
I'll look that up real quick.
I want to say it's third because Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook, I believe, are leading the way. I believe it's like Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, and then everybody else.
Well, we talked about that last week. I know he's probably still third, but I want to know because he did have a good week this week, and other than Dalvin Cook, I don't think Derrick Henry's really been doing all that hot. So
really, your ground game was what won it for you. I mean, 21 carries for Jacobs for 112 and 2 touchdowns.
Well,
and then you had Devontae Booker, 16 carries for 81.
Well, here's the issue we have is it's now Dalvin Cook with 954, Derrick Henry 946. Josh Jacobs has 700, but I'll give you $5 if you can guess who just snuck into third place.
Just who snuck into third place? All right. Chubb? No.
Matt. Ronald Jones.
Really?
Yeah,
he did just have what, a 200-yard game?
Yeah, he has 30 more yards than Jacobs currently. And and we've been talking about these people. And James Robinson has 689, so he's only 11 behind Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, so he's in fifth right now as an undrafted rookie.
Yes.
On a 1-18.
Yeah.
So poor guy, but he's like the only glimmer of hope on that team at the moment.
The only other thing I want to talk about is Jacobs had 2 touchdowns. Devontae Booker, once again, in back-to-back weeks, has another strong showing. 16 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
Well, yeah. Just all the pieces are just clicking. It seems like every time one guy goes out or somebody goes down. And that was one other thing I wanted to touch on. Colton Miller didn't play this game, our fucking starting left tackle.
Yeah.
And Brandon Parker, our one backup that we have, everybody's kind of vilified him, and he's played like hell. I watched some film this week. It was him versus Bradley Chubb all day, and he allowed 1 pressure all day long. 1. Like, this dude looked like an absolute shitbag for, like, the first 2 years of his career. Like, everybody, including myself as Raider fans, wanted his head on a plinth. And then he came out as our starting left tackle last week against Bradley Chubb, who is a great, great pass rusher, and pancaked him and made him look fucking pedestrian. So,
yep.
This team has depth. The defense needs to get healthy, get off the fucking COVID.
Really, the top teams in the league right now, that's what it's showing, is defensive depth. Okay, think about it. years ago with the Philadelphia Eagles. What was their number one strength? That defensive line.
Yeah.
They had so much depth on that defensive line. They rotated 4 guys that could have been starters all over the league.
Yeah.
Kept them fresh the entire time. They were able to get pressure with 3-4-man rushes. That's what won them that Super Bowl that year.
Well, but you go on the inverse side of that, like with the Raiders. Like last week, we haven't had Trent Brown in back-to-back weeks because of his fucking deal with COVID and all that shit he had going on. Colton Miller hasn't missed more than 1 game in his career. He missed 2 back-to-back. And you got to remember, we haven't had Richie Incognito pretty much the entire year.
Yeah.
I think they've shut him down. And Denzel Good stepped into our starting left guard spot, and he has been week in and week out, if you look at the tape, one of the best in the league. And once again, it's just depth. It's just random guys, plug and play, throw them in.
Well, I mean, we talked about it, about the Steelers team and how they've been able to produce on defense with these random linebackers. Robert Spillane, who's been playing out of his mind since Bush has got injured.
Jesus Christ.
Highsmith, who has been coming in for both Bud Dupree and Watt and still producing.
Love with Highsmith. He made like a couple good plays on special teams that 1 week. And then it was almost like they were like, okay, let's give this kid a run. And I think he had a pick the first week.
I believe he did.
Like the first week he played.
Yeah.
He kind of caught like a fucking like errant screen pass or something. I forget, against the Titans or some bullshit.
I believe that's what that. So,
yeah,
I mean, and Tyson Alualu has been like the best D tackle for the Steelers right now.
Yeah. I mean, that is really what separates the good teams from the kind of mad teams. It's the matter of, okay, if some guy gets hurt, if the next guy up, are you going to be like, okay, it's business as usual, the ball moves, we're just moving on, or are you just like holding your breath every time and being like, Jesus Christ, what's this guy going to do next?
At one point this year, Pro Football Focus had Kevin Dotson, who was the backup guard for the Steelers, playing in for David DeCastro while he was injured, ranked number 1 as the guard in the league as a rookie backup.
Well, that's your starting right guard now, right?
No, he's not even starting anymore because Filer started on the left side and DeCastro is back on the right side. He was filling in for DeCastro when he was injured, and he was ranked number 1 in Pro Football Focus for those weeks he was there. Yeah. But he's not even starting.
Yeah, but that's one of those things. You get into a playoff game and you're getting down to a haul, and knock on wood, don't want to see it happen. But you say, Pouncey or DeCastro or somebody go down, you have guys that you go, okay. It's almost like you just go, we'll call them breath of fresh air guys, where they walk in off the side of the field and you're like, it's him. Okay, thank God. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
It's like they might.
There's honestly talk about them not re-signing DeCastro because of how well he's played this year. Because DeCastro is going to want a lot of money.
That he hasn't been very durable. Not to knock on him too much, but I feel like it's almost been like COVID contagious between him and Pouncey. They have all the talent in the world. They can't stay on the field is what the issue is.
Pouncey's had it in the past. He really hasn't had it this year. In the past, there's been years where it's just like he's in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah. I will give him that, but I also do, knock on wood, bias butt me if you want. I do feel like the injuries have weighed on him a little bit. He's not.
Oh yeah.
He's not exactly
as dominant as
he was when
sure.
he came out of college. He's still good. Don't get me wrong, but he's lost a step or two.
Oh yeah. So let's move on. Seahawks and the Rams. I literally talked about it last week. The Rams have the Seahawks numbers. They've won now 5 of the last 6 games against the Seahawks. And what did they do? They came in and won it, just as I suspected. This Rams team, even when the Rams were horrible and the Seahawks were amazing, the Rams would still beat them. They are the Jaguars to the Steelers. That are the Rams to the Seahawks.
That one Johnny Hecker fucking fake punt from forever ago. When the Rams were like 2-14.
Yeah.
It's just burned into my brain because that was one of those years where the Seahawks were absolute like bona fide Super Bowl or at least playoff contenders.
Yep.
And it was like, holy shit, the Rams have sucked. I believe there was I believe, knock on wood, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that was a year it was a Nick Foles guided St. Louis Rams team that was not.
I believe you're correct.
I don't know where in my brain that
this
came out.
was prior to Goff, I believe, and I think this was even prior to McVay, or may have been McVay's first season.
Whole damn move to Los Angeles.
Oh yeah. But those were the Legion of Boom teams, and they were still shitting on them.
Yeah, they're playing in the dome, and I'm just like, holy shit, there goes the punter for the fucking pass. Yeah. They have always been a thorn in the Seahawks side.
It's just one of those divisional teams that always can win, and they always seem to win against them. So the Rams came away from that victory. I did not honestly think much of this Rams team. I did not think they would be in the position they were in. But right now, being 6-3 and vying for the lead in that division, which they may actually hold at this point, is amazing to me.
I will say I am surprised that they are in this spot, and kudos to them. Hats off to them. They have played well to this point. My only thing is
it sustainable?
The one Rams fan we might have listening to this is Jared Goff sustaining the same sustained success right now is about as reliable as Mexican tap water.
So right now, Arizona is actually leading that division.
What's that?
Arizona is actually leading that division with the better divisional record. They are 2-0 in the division. Although right now we have reached halftime. Seahawks are up 16-7. So that doesn't bode well for Arizona, but guess what? That's what Kyler Murray works well on. So, all right, let's move on from that. Niners and Saints. This Niners team's like I've said it every week. Feel bad for that team. Injuries have really destroyed them. But the Saints team has some injuries of their own we have to talk about from this game. So the full extent of the Drew Brees injury?
Yeah. I believe it's 5 fractured ribs. I can't remember what side is which, but 2 on one side.
I want to say it's his left side was the 3, and his right side was the 2.
I mean, fucking 6 one way, half a dozen the other.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But and he did have a collapsed lung at one point, and he went in because the first opinion they basically told him, "Look, you need." I don't want to speculate, but I'm guessing at the age he's at, they told him, the couple of the reports I read, they were telling him to take a little bit more time because the damage to his lung was a little bit more extensive and it may take more time to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went and sought out a second opinion today, and I saw just before we came on here, in the second opinion, the doctors said the exact same thing. They were like, yeah, you're in bad shape and you got to take a couple weeks off. So the question really becomes, is it the Jameis show or is it the
Taysom Hill show?
And Jesus Christ, I don't care what it is, but I have never wanted to tune into a fucking Saints game more than I do next week. Holy hell.
I don't care which one starts. I want to watch that game.
They're going to do 50-50. They're just going to be throwing.
Like, they're just going to do Wildcat with Jameis and Taysom in the backfield together. And they're just going to stand beside each other, and who knows who the snap's going to.
My God. I just realized it.
Steve.
I invited Steve Burkhart to my house this Sunday. If there's ever a time where you might need 3 quarterbacks, Taysom, Jameis, and I don't even know, put Will Lutz on the field as a third quarterback at this point. Just go absolutely balls to the wall and just don't let anybody know what the fuck's about to happen.
Well, that's it. No, you line up Alvin Kamara and then Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. You line all 3 of them up back there in a little wishbone, and you don't know who the fuck's getting what.
You know what you do? You almost do like the fucking, the trick where it's like you put the ball under the cup in the middle, and then you do this a bunch of times. You could do that with Jameis, Taysom Hill, and Alvin Kamara. Just go in pre-snap motion. It's just like they seem to just be going circles around one another. And then it's like
they do that motion where they go up to the guy in the middle and spin around him, like go to each side.
it's good.
It's just direct snaps to Alvin
you
Kamara
know-
where he tosses it to whatever quarterback he wants to and then runs out for a pass.
Yeah. Yeah, just takes it this way, declares himself eligible, and runs off on a fucking beeline. No, whatever happens, it's going to be an absolute shit show, and it's going to be.
Sean Payton's going to have some weird shit in this next game.
That is my one game this week so far. Obviously, the Raiders and Chiefs game is one to circle, but as far as another game I want to watch, that is going to be an absolute shit show.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be a shit show, or it's going to be like Mozart writing a symphony. I don't know.
Right.
Shit.
So
they fixed Jameis's fucking eyesight. He's going to come out and look like the heir apparent. And 2020 will officially be fucked, guaranteed. Mark my word.
I think that's what what like triggers the Godzilla coming out of the ocean in the Pacific.
He's like, Jameis just threw 4 tutties and no picks.
No, he just emerges out of the Gulf over the Mardi Gras.
You're scrolling Twitter, you won a couple of bets on Sunday and you're having a good day, and all of a sudden it's like, breaking news, radioactive giant dinosaur has emerged from the South Japan Sea.
Mothra has woken up in the Rocky Mountains.
And then at that point, you all just go out on your back porch, and it's just like, is it going to come here? Is it going to happen?
Whatever.
Jameis is an efficient quarterback. The monsters may as well just fight it out. Fucking why not? 2020 is already weird enough.
Yes. So let's move on to
I love that we got into a full-blown Godzilla
discussion, yes. Because of Jameis Winston.
For all of you that don't know, you got to go listen to that soundtrack. Dun, 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 dun. That is fucking iconic.
And also, if you don't know, me and Jace were basically raised on Godzilla. We have seen all 52 movies since 1945 or whatever.
My father did this weird thing where, we lived in the middle of bumfuck nowhere and everybody else listened to country music and didn't really care about anything. And we watched, the NFL and the NBA. And then my dad was like, I want to ask him. I don't even know where he came across Godzilla and started watching it. I don't even know that origin story.
All I know is when I was a baby, I was madly in love with Godzilla because when he lived with us, that's what me and him would watch. So there was the day I ran out on the front porch. I tripped over my shoelace. I broke our cement block steps with my head. We were in the emergency room, and him talking to me about Godzilla was the only thing that calmed me down. So from crying, and I was 4. So.
You know how I got introduced to him? I can't tell you. And it was great. There were so many nights where, and I love my dad, but he was one of those blue collar guys where, football Sundays, he got absolutely blitzed. And it was just back in the day, there was always on ITV or some weird bullshit. There was always a rerun of one of the old Godzilla movies playing. And it's kind of, most people, it's kind of a sick, fucked up thing to say, but some of my fondest memories of my dad are just him absolutely just, out of his mind with a fucking beer can like this, just watching Godzilla movies, reruns at 8:30, because I knew at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I had to go to bed and fucking go to school the next day. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to chill right here.
The very best Godzilla is when he tag matched, I think it was Hedorah and Gigan with Jet Jaguar.
That one was so...
It was so bad because Jet Jaguar's got a full Nelson and Hedorah, and then Godzilla just runs and does an atomic drop kick right to his face.
Yeah, I know. It was
amazing.
It was almost like they put Hulk Hogan and Macho Man.
Yeah, it was.
And they were have a shoot match. Just make it happen. But that's what's great is you go back and you watch that stuff. You imagine being a kid in the 60s, just how fooled you had to be watching that, being like, wow. Whoa.
That was us. That was us as kids. We were raised on Monty Python and Godzilla.
Yeah, Monty Python and Godzilla. and World War II documentaries. All right.
Moving on.
We have gone so far off the rails.
We've gone off the deep end in this one, buddy.
We
got 3 games left. Let's get through them. So the Ravens and Patriots game. I actually didn't even stay up for this. I just woke up the next morning to a bunch of memes saying, "Fuck the Ravens." Steelers are up 3 games, and I was like, "What?"
Basically, all I saw was it was like we said, all the weather that we had gotten and Cleveland had gotten earlier in the day had moved into New England, and the one meme I saw it was just poor Lamar, with that fucking hooded jacket on the sideline with rain pouring on him, and he's just like.
Well, I mean, there was people joking because it was like that 2-minute drill right at the end of the game. Lamar gets the ball, and then all of a sudden, it just starts downpouring, like uncontrollably downpouring on them. And then people were joking about how Bill Belichick arranged the weather machine to start this rain on Lamar Jackson.
Like, he's not that good throwing the ball, but if he has a little bit of a window, he can make it happen. Let's make sure the ball is nice and slick.
Yeah, let's make sure that's soaked.
Mom's not here. We can't underinflate the balls anymore, so
that's
we gotta call up the Chinese weather machine.
I would love to say I feel bad for this Patriots team being 4-5, but oh my God, it's the greatest feeling in the entire world. It's so good.
It's a catch-22 for me. Honestly, most of my hate was rooted with Brady. And now that he's gone, I kind of wanted Belichick to prove to people that he was the reason for the success. And also at the same time, maybe that hasn't happened, but I also wanted Cam to kind of have a little bit of a, bounce back success story, because he was at his peak, he was probably the most exciting quarterback in the NFL.
He really was. I think
he's I don't want to say he's a shell of his former self, but it's just like, where did that guy go? You know what I mean?
I honestly, and I know this is kind of a little bit biased in the sense of it, but I think if Stidham would have been the starter from the beginning of the season and maybe had Cam as his backup, you would have a better record for the Patriots, because Stidham is what Belichick wants in a quarterback. You know what I mean? Even Hoyer, when he got in there, looked horrible at times. I think it should have been Stidham. And I think it was just injuries in training camp that really caused to get propelled up into the starting role, and then he just kind of won it from there. And then for the first few weeks, they were like, "Oh shit, Cam Newton looks good," and then explosion.
Well, he wasn't putting up great stats in the first couple of weeks of the year, anyhow. But
he was putting up rushing stats. He wasn't putting up passing stats.
That's basically what it was. And I feel like Belichick's one of those guys where he's willing to just adapt no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
And the idea of, like I said, you go from one Super Bowl MVP or one NFL MVP to another NFL MVP. Like, fuck you. How easy does it get? Everybody knew there's gonna be issues, settling.
Honestly, if it wasn't for the massive amount of opt-outs this defense had, this would be a completely different team. If you have Patrick Chung and Adonta Hightower still in there, completely different team.
Well, that honestly, if you think about it, if you're talking about Stidham, Cam's literally on a 1-year, $1 million deal right now. So we could be totally talking about a different thing next year, where
absolutely
there could be a different quarterback in New England, and who the fuck all knows where Cam Newton might be.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, we'll go to the Chargers and the Dolphins. I'll say it every week until the end of the season. The Chargers are the best, worst team in the NFL. Herbert is awesome. Once that defense catches up to him, they might actually have a good team.
Well, I hate to say it, but that's the problem. It never will, and it's the same thing that happened to Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, he literally is the new Phillip Rivers, because they're literally doing the exact same thing that happened to him.
At least Phillip Rivers had LaDainian Tomlinson at some point, but they just didn't have. Well, they did have Antonio Gates, but they didn't have shit at receiver. I mean,
no, Keenan Allen is a breath of fresh air for that. But
every single year they were always, I believe they made a championship game one year, and they can't ever get over that last step.
Yep.
And now Herbert
the big thing to talk
get over
about,
a regular season win.
the big thing to talk about in that one is Tua was replaced Fitzpatrick while Fitzpatrick was playing probably really lights out football. He was playing amazing. They replaced him prior to their bye week. Tua comes in there, really doesn't perform well in his debut, but they still win thanks to the defense. Now the Dolphins have put up 3 wins in a row with Tua. I hate to say it, but they actually kind of look good with how they started that move, where they placed that move to him. Maybe they actually knew what they were doing.
Well, and even Tua gets hurt or something like that, you've already seen Fitzpatrick has proven himself pretty good this year. And those games you saw, I feel like it was the one Thursday night game he played, or it could have been Monday night. I just know it was a night game when he was running around, hooting and hollering with all those young guys like he was 25 again, and this guy is better part of 40 years old or some shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, good for Tua. Everybody was skeptical, including myself. I hope he keeps winning because it's obviously what the guy does. But if there were to happen to be a slip up, I wouldn't be surprised. Jesus Christ, there's another, nightmare scenario.
Here's the bottom.
Tua goes down, and then fucking Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't use up all of his magic in the middle of the year, and then gets to use it at the end of the year for once.
That's true. Maybe that's the master plan in it.
Here's
the bottom line. Tua's never going to be great. He's a left-hand quarterback. I hate left-hand quarterbacks.
Ken Stabler is rolling in his grave right now.
I hate him. I can't stand it. I hated it in Madden because I always focused on the right side of the field, and left-hand quarterbacks just didn't work on that side.
And like Michael Vick,
hated Michael Vick. Hated playing with Michael Vick. I hated watching it is a completely different offense when you're a left-handed quarterback.
You were the dumbest person I've ever met because in Madden,
that's right.
You hated playing with Michael Vick.
That's right.
The single, whatever it was, 04,
I thought it was so cheap to run with the quarterback, I refused to do it and beat people that did it.
And you used to get so mad at me when I would when we would do franchises and I would pick up the fastest running back or quarterback I could and just sneak all day.
Yeah. I hated it. I refused to do it because I thought it was a cheap. That's why I won't play it. I never play a control deck because I think they're the cheapest hell. To get real nerdy on you.
Yeah, you just went off the deep end. That's why
I really went super nerdy on you.
Yeah,
that's okay.
We've already been on the Godzilla kick here.
So. Yeah, we went super nerd today. I think it's the Star Wars shirt I wore today. That's really what caused it.
Yeah.
Last game Monday night. Kirk Cousins, 0-9 in Monday night games. Finally wins one.
You know why? I've talked about it on this show 1.5 million fucking times. Every time I bet on Kirk Cousins, he loses. Every time I bet against Kirk Cousins, he wins. And I just threw a simple one out. I just took the Bears against the spread. I took the Bears money line, and that was it. I threw a same game parlay down for $10.
So what you're trying to say is this is all your fault.
I hate Kirk Cousins. I irrationally hate him.
Yes, I agree.
Every time I touch a game that he is on, it's supposed to be a blowout and he's supposed to lose by a mile and they'll pull it out. Or I'll bet on him because it's an upset and they're supposed to win. Like it's supposed to be like a fucking 15-point or more blowout. And then it's like, oh, the Vikings have lost to the Washington football team. It's like, wonderful. He can take his you like that ass and fuck himself.
He can take his you like that ass and head out the door.
And up here with it, Kirk Cousins. Fuck you.
All right, so let's move into our Week 11 matchups. We both said the Cardinals for this game, which right now it's not looking great. Cardinals are down, 9 at halftime. And I believe the Seahawks were favorites in this one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Right. Seahawks.
Well,
it actually says right now.
Third quarter started, and
Cardinals have the ball right now. It says the Seahawks are 16-1 when up at half since 2018. The only loss was Week 7 against the Cardinals. So
that's.
I mean, it still bodes well for us.
That means go get on your local sports book and maybe throw $10 on the Cardinals.
That's right. All right, so let's take a look. We have the Titans and the Ravens. I think that the Ravens will win this game. On my giant parlay, I actually took the Titans with +6, just to kind of, because I think it's going to be a tight game. But I personally am picking the Ravens to win this game.
I am going to go with the Ravens. With the Titans sliding, these are honestly two teams that are in a little bit of a slide.
Yes.
And if there's one, I feel like it's going to rebound and make a little bit of stronger push to the playoffs. I feel like the Ravens are going to do it.
Yes. Lions and the Panthers. I think the Lions are really strong right now. They're playing as if every game is a playoff game, which right now with their record, it really is. I feel like if they want to make a playoff push, they really got to almost win out at this point. So I think that they are really pushing hard. Carolina's lost 5 straight. I want to say Christian McCaffrey's status for this game is still up in the air, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure, but
I wanted to say he was doubtful, but he may have been.
I want to say he was doubtful. I'm pretty sure he was not looking good.
Yeah. So I'm going with the Lions on this one. What do you think? Side note, Kenny Golladay is expected to be back for this game.
I'm taking the Panthers.
Okay. Panthers it is. You're trying to gain games on me, and all it's going to do is just separate us a little bit more. Browns and the Eagles.
I got to start making some moves here.
Browns and the Eagles. I think this is another game that the Browns actually do kind of start to pull away for that wild card run. Although Philly has won 5 straight games against Cleveland, so we'll see what happens there. But right now, the NFC East against the AFC North, I believe, is 0-8 or something like that currently. I don't think they've beaten any of the AFC North teams.
I haven't seen that stat, but
it was during the Steeler game they popped that up. And like I said, I believe it was either 1-8 or 0-8 or something along that lines. But they're horrible against the AFC North this year. So I'm going with the Browns.
Yeah, this is kind of a fucking no-brainer. The Browns should easily win this game unless they come out and go full Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. The Patriots and the Texans. I actually am going the Texans in this one, although they are 2-7 so far this season. Deshaun Watson has looked really good, and this Patriots team is so up and down. You don't know what version of this team you're going to get. So I honestly think that Texans being home team, you're going to see the Texans come out with a win on this one.
Yeah, this one for me, it's a pretty much even everywhere else. It's a tale of 2 quarterbacks, and if I'm taking current Cam Newton versus current Deshaun Watson, I'll take Deshaun Watson.
Yep. Packers at Colts. Packers, believe it or not, are a frigging underdog in this game because it's at Colts Stadium and the Colts have played well so far this season. There is no doubt in my mind that I'm going to drop $20 on the Packers right now. So I don't care if it's in Lucas Oil Stadium. The Packers are a dominant team this year. As long as Aaron Rodgers gets going early and they don't have a quick defensive stop or a weird interception or a bad sack or something to start the game off in that first quarter. If he starts going in the first quarter and can keep a lead, that's how this Packers team wins. They outscore you early and force you to play catch up. If they're able to do that, they're unbeatable. That's just how it is. I'm going with the Packers on this one.
Is that how it is?
That's how it is.
Yeah, I it's unfathomable to me that there's places that are willing to give you like plus.
I think it's like 3.5 points or something right now.
Yeah, plus 2.5, or I saw plus 3.5 for some places for the Packers. That is an absolute disgrace. The Packers win this game.
Yeah. In Tampa Bay, in Jacksonville, Steelers versus Jaguars. The Jaguars won week 1 and have lost 8 straight since then. I believe they're on their second or third string quarterback at this point. James Robinson, like we said, has been the only bright spot on this team. So I'm going to say Steelers by 2.
As much as I want, like we've talked about already, I feel like this is very much one of the games that the Steelers could lose and get complacent. As I can't, being far enough back from you, bring myself to make that pick. So I'm going to have to take the favorites. I got to take the Steelers.
All right, Falcons and the Saints.
I'm going to kick myself in the ass so hard.
Falcons and the Saints. The Falcons have won 3 of the last 4 games under Morris and are 0-5 under Quinn. So after they fired Quinn, they've gone on a 3-1 run. The Saints do not have Breeze. They're either going to play Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. Nobody really knows. I suspect it's going to be Taysom Hill. You suspect it's going to be Jameis. I still think the Falcons can actually sneak out a win in this divisional game. So I actually went with the Falcons on this one.
I'm taking the Saints.
Completely understand.
I have no unexplicit, like, no
reasoning behind it besides taking the Saints.
I'm just thinking about Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston in the same backfield, and I'm on board.
I feel you. All right, Bengals and the Washington football team. This one's just a crapshoot. This is the matchup between both the first and second overall picks in Burrow and Young. I think the Bengals get a win here. I think the Bengals are the better team. They didn't look like it last week. The Steelers really, really put them to bed early. But I honestly feel like the Bengals are the better team in this, and they can come out the victor here.
Yep, I'm with you on that. Alex Smith, good for him coming back. He's looked good, but
he's looked good in the sense of we can't believe he's actually moving on the field. They literally looked at him at one point and talked about his knee brace. He has no nerve ending in like his lower leg, so he can't feel his foot on the ground. So like he has to wear this brace that forces his foot down because he has a thing called drop foot.
Yeah, drop foot.
So in order for him to function his leg properly, he has to wear this like ankle to knee brace on his leg. And the man is out there fucking playing professional football. It's honestly amazing that the guy's even walking. Whenever he scrambles, it like makes me have heart palpitations. like I'm just like, oh God, don't do it. Just go down. Just go down.
Every guy on the opposing defense, they're like two dudes running towards him, and they're looking at each other like, "Are you gonna do it?
Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it?"
You know, all it takes is one wrong look at him, and he'll fall to pieces again, and then you're just an asshole.
It's just insane to me that he literally wouldn't be able to do this because he wouldn't be able to physically feel his foot hitting the ground or anything, or his leg lifting without this knee brace. It's amazing to me that I don't even understand why he's on the field. But anyway, kudos to the man. Like if Ben doesn't get comeback player of the year, Alex Smith should.
Oh, 100%.
Moving on from that, Cowboys and Vikings. This Cowboys team is the laughing stock of that division. And believe me, that's a horrible division. I'm going with the Vikings on this one.
Oh, I hate Kirk Cousins. But I'll take the Vikings.
This next game, Las Vegas, Chiefs and Raiders. Because they're playing in the Death Star, I'm going to pick the Raiders. Right now, it literally says KC's won 14 of their last 15 games, with their only loss being the Week 5 to the Raiders. So I'm going to pick the Raiders because, once again, I think Gruden has something to prove. And Gruden's big thing to prove is that he can stand up in this division. And the only way to stand up in this division is to beat Big Brother, and that's the Chiefs.
And we've done that. We finally, in a new shiny toy and a new shiny stadium, have the opportunity to go 2-0 against them. And if we keep winning, we could be in serious play, like I said before, for the division winner.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% confident coming into this game, just because the Chiefs are one of those teams where they're good enough where they can make the adjustments and they can really, really come out the second time they see you and burn you just from the talent they have. But you can hit the bias button all you want. I don't think it's going to be nearly as a high flying game, and it's going to be very much more of a knockdown, grind it out. There will be a couple still flash plays here and there. Obviously, it's Mahomes versus Carr, so there will be a few, but it's going to be like defense versus the running game.
Yeah.
And I'm taking the Raiders.
All right. Dolphins and the Broncos. Broncos have lost 3 of the last 4. Like I said, I believe that the Dolphins, I hated the fact that they moved to Tua the way they did, but it looks like they actually knew what they were doing, and I feel like the Dolphins is going to really push for a playoff spot this year. Hell, they may actually, at the current state, be pushing for this division.
Yeah, I mean, things keep going the way they're going. They need the Bills to go on a little bit of a slide. It's unlikely, but it's not out of play.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bills right now are 7-3. Dolphins are a game behind them.
I will also take the Dolphins.
Dolphins win this week, they will be tied with them, and I believe the Bills have the better divisional matchup, so they'll be like half game back essentially if they win. Jets and Chargers. Chargers may actually finally get a damn win. Poor Justin Herbert. I feel bad for the guy because he's literally doing everything in his power to win games, and that team is failing him left and right. So I think the Chargers do finally win one, bring them up to the 3-7 record, which if they were in the NFC East, they could be leading the division.
I mean, that, like you said earlier, participation trophy right there.
Yep.
Thanks for coming.
Jets and Chargers, who do you got? You just not even a question?
Yeah.
I think the Jets seriously have a very strong capability of being a defeated team this year, much like the Lions were, 8 years ago or something like that?
There were a couple of guys on my Twitter that had the Jets going, obviously, 0-16 at like plus 800 or something like that. So, yeah, they're like, just please don't pull out like a weird fucking, trap game or something like that. Joe Flacco has a career revival. God.
Yep. I picked a lot of upsets this week as it comes to like the favorites. And this Monday night game, Rams gets the Bucks. I actually have picked the Rams in this one. And my reasoning behind it is this Buccaneers team is very hot and cold. They have moments where they can go out and score a ton of points on you, and then they have moments where they can't move the ball. I feel like Aaron Donald is going to give Tom Brady some fits. It essentially is a rematch of the Super Bowl of a couple years ago because this Bucks team is just ex-Patriots at this point.
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I have a strong feeling that the Rams are pretty well motivated, and I think that they can come in this game and really use their defense to their advantage and put the Bucks back some. And I think they can walk away with a win there.
Yep, I don't disagree with you in the slightest bit.
That surprises me. I'm not going to lie to you. That surprised me. I thought you were going to go with the Bucks on that one.
I want to, but like you, they're just so hot and cold and off and on, and I feel like it's time for an off game from them.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. All right, so that's our picks. I'll have those posted for you later. Let's touch into that Masters before we get out of here. And by the way, just to give you a little heads up, Cardinals are making it a game. They scored a touch. Oh, nope. The Seahawks just scored a touchdown as well. So it was 14-16, but the Seahawks scored now, and it is 23-14. Kyler Murray threw a touchdown to Dan Arnold, whoever the hell that is. And Kenyon Drake also rushed in a touchdown. Seahawks, Russell Wilson has thrown a touchdown to Lockett and Metcalf. And Carlos Hyde has ran in a touchdown. So Carlos Hyde is leading the backfield right now.
Christ, who'd have fucking picked that?
Yeah.
But yeah, not really a lot to talk about with the Masters, other than Bryson taking a whole shit. It was pretty close after round one. You had guys like random guys like Paul Casey kind of up in the mix. You know, you didn't know what was going to happen with the conditions going into the weekend. Everything looked. Augusta is normally one of those courses where the greens and everything roll very, very quickly. And Xander Schauffele and a lot of the guys were saying they felt like it was almost cheating because some of the pin locations and things they were able to take on just with knowing. And they did have a big rain delay Thursday morning before anybody was even able to go out. So the course was even softer than they intended. And guys were like, yeah, it almost doesn't feel like Augusta because there's a couple of these spots where on a dry day in April, you've got no fucking chance of flighting it close to it. And guys would hit balls to like 2 feet and they would stick next to the pin. Yeah. But obviously the cream of the crop thinned themselves out. Congrats to DJ. Guys had one a long time coming. I outlined it before. He's had a lot of near misses in majors. He's been right there pretty much every single time. And, you know, just congrats to him. I do want to say he did set the all-time record for low score in a Masters and in a major by any standard. But like I said, Augusta did play pretty soft the first couple of days just because of the time of year and the, course conditions and the rain and stuff like that, which, Dustin Johnson can't control any of that shit. It's nothing to take anything away from him. But yeah, if this tournament's held in April when it normally is, he doesn't go that low. But I will say, if we're going into the Masters next year and it still goes on as planned, I would have no problem looking at DJ to go back to back.
Okay. I put a little money on Tiger going back to back, and Tiger had not so good of an outing. He actually dropped a 10 on what did you say? It was hole 12?
12, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there were a bunch of similarities I saw because when Jack Nicklaus won in 86, I forget what all the stats were, but there were a bunch of similarities, such as going into the week, Tiger and Jack were both ranked 33rd in the world. Going into the second round, they were both 4 strokes off the lead. Like, there were so many similarities and just weird stuff with the numbers. Because I love Tiger. I threw a little bit of money at him pre-tournament. And I was expecting that after the second round, it was like the hype train was like, oh, Tiger's sitting there. He's laying and waiting. He's coming. And then with the rain delay and having to play a little bit longer, guys were noting, he looked like he was straining a little bit with his back and he looked uncomfortable and almost like he was hurt a little bit. So, yeah, the big cat kind of fizzled out, but he'll be back in play for April. I have no doubt about that. He probably won't play another tournament other than the Hero World Challenge, what he has to put on in January, and then you won't see him again until we stroll down Magnolia Lane once again, friends.
So, how many majors has he won at this point, and how close is he to winning the most? Because I've heard that like after he hit his like peak, they thought he was going to be able to take it from, I want to say, is it Nicholson?
Yeah.
And then he teetered off, and they're like, oh, he's never going to get it now. And at this age, they really don't think that he can, because it's like, what, 6 or 7 off or something like that?
Well, yeah, no, he's tied for the all-time just wins record. That's just
Right.
normal wins at 81 with Sam Snead. So he just needs one more to be the winningest of all time on tour. But to win for majors, he needs, I believe Jack has, or no, I don't believe, I know Jack has 18. And Tiger, as it sits at 15. And the problem is at Tiger's age, he is 46 years old. And other than the Masters this in 2019, he really has struggled to contend in these. I'm not going to rule it out because it's one of those things where they could go back to the fucking Open Championship at St. Andrews or something like that. And you could see guys struggle and, not be able to deal with the wind and the weather conditions, and Tiger come out and look good.
What are the majors? Like, what are the major?
The Masters,
U.S. Open, Masters,
the U.S. Open, the PGA Championship, and the Open Championship are the 4 majors.
Okay.
And that concludes your golf lesson.
There you go. So we think, by the time he's done and moves on to the senior tour or whatever you want to call it,
I don't think he'll ever play the senior tour. I hate to say it, but I think best case scenario, he'll obviously, with another win, he is the winningest of all time overall. I think best case scenario, him and Jack probably end tied at 18 majors.
Yeah.
And that's if you see like a crazy Tiger flurry and you see, like 2 or 3 more almost in like kind of like a, I don't want to say it, but almost like a Tiger slam that year in 2000 or 2000 or 2003, when he didn't do it in the same calendar year because he didn't win the Masters that year, but he won the U.S. Open, the British Open at the time, the PGA Championship, and then he went next spring and then won the Masters. So he won 4 fucking majors in a row.
So how many green jackets does he have?
5. Nicholas has the all-time lead with 6.
There you go. So let's see next April if Tiger can come back and win that 6, tie him, get that one step closer to owning the Masters record, and go from there. All right, boys. Boy. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to post our picks here. Next week, we're really going to dig into our power rankings and talk a lot about these playoff pitchers coming up because we're going to be coming into the last, 5, 6 games of the season. So each week is really going to be a make it or break it type of week for some of these 6-3, 5-4 teams. Even some of these 4 and 5 teams that are really making a push, aka like the Lions, for instance, who could, in theory, win this, end the season 11-5 and hold a playoff position. I think right now, if you have 6 losses, you're essentially out of this playoffs. I really do. Unless you're in the NFC East, I really think you are out of the playoffs right now with how many strong teams are out there. So we're going to have a fun time breaking down our each individual power rankings, at least for the top 15, which should include every playoff team at that point. And then, we'll go from there and keep updating that per week. We'll be able to update the scores and current records and everything with our picks. But yeah, as always, visit our Facebook, give us a like there, go to our YouTube, watch us on there. Our host site on Transistor. You can visit there through our Facebook page. You can also find us wherever you find your podcasts on Spotify, iTunes, all of the above. You can donate to our PayPal. You can email us at alltheragesports@yahoo.com. You can send us whatever you want. Direct link us on, DM us on Facebook. We're going to try to get the Twitter up and going, right? We discussed it a lot about getting the Twitter really up and going again. We have severely been lacking on our Twitter presence. So we're going to try to get that up and going here very soon. So look for that as well. Do you have any final thoughts?
We will be soon available. I will be training carrier pigeons, and I will be tying a USB flash drive to their legs.
It's true.
And sending, even if you hate us, I will be sending pigeons to your house.
Just gonna find little flash drives.
You're just like, what are these flash drives? And you're gonna plug it into your computer, and you go, "Hello and welcome to all the races." So fucking pissed off. Yeah, we are available on everything, and next week we will be available, including on carrier pigeon, if you subscribe to that sort of thing.
It's all dependent on if Jace is successful. He's reading the Mike Tyson handbook on carrier pigeons, so let's see how good it goes.
Yeah, it's tough having to catch them on your own from the wild.
So it gets a little difficult. But yes, thank you all for joining us. As for my panel, Jace Junk here, and myself, Jesse Baden, your host. Thank you all for joining us, and remember always to rage on.